Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope that you are subscribed as well. On my channel, I talk mostly about current events, politics, news, anything that is going on in the world that I think just needs another opinion, hopefully another perspective of logic, reason, and sanity. So be sure to make sure that you're subscribed to help me to grow this channel and hopefully reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to head on over to Rumble and find me there under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. So if I'm being 100% honest, I wasn't even sure that I was going to talk about this particular subject today. I had kind of written out my notes and covered a few things that I wanted to highlight, and then I was kind of wrestling back and forth, like, do I really want to talk about this? Because it is so dark and depressing, and it just continues to show, the downward spiral that we are in. But I'm hoping that I can touch on this and highlight some of the things that are going on to back up what I'm saying, but also offer a sense of reassurance and just kind of some hope at the end of this. So let's talk about a few things that I have seen going on lately. I've noticed this trend, I don't know if you want to call it that because that seems almost too light of a word for it, but where the left, we know that they're hysterical. We know that they have gone off the deep end, and there's a lot of the things that they are advocating for just make absolutely no sense. We've seen protests, we've seen rallies, we've seen people get absolutely hysterical. The hysteria has gotten to levels of physical assault, and people just feeling really justified in how they treat people that they disagree with. And it's gotten so out of hand. But I have seen lately where the left has taken it to a whole new level of feeling like threatening people's lives is okay. So within the last month, I feel, I'm not exactly sure the date that this particular episode aired, but Jane Fonda was sitting with the hags of The View, and they were having a discussion around the overturning of Roe v. Wade and trying to protect the right of a woman to kill her unborn child. And Joyless Behar asked what the alternatives were as far as preserving this right besides protesting and marching. And this was Jane Fonda's response.
I don't care what the laws are. We're not going back.
I think the women will rise up.
That's the activist.
That's Jane
speaking, and she probably will get a Nobel Prize.
But it's the truth.
Very soon.
It is the truth. We're not going to do it.
Besides marching and protesting, what else do you suggest?
Well, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a miraculous. What did you say?
Murder.
She's kidding. Wait a second. She's just kidding.
Don't say that. That's
you don't know. They'll pick up on that and just run with it.
The worst.
She's just kidding.
Well, let me talk to you about.
Now, all of these women tried to laugh this off and saying that people on the right would just grab this soundbite and run with it. Kind of like when the left did when Michael Knowles was speaking at, I believe it was at CPAC, or maybe it was another one of his speeches, but he said that we need to eradicate transgenderism from public schools, and he was referring to the fact that our schools are filled with books indoctrinating kids into believing that they can be whatever they want to be and that their gender is fluid and that it's not connected to their biological sex. They're literally teaching kids this, that we need to remove this from schools. And of course, the dishonest and deceptive lying media printed a bunch of false headlines saying that Michael Knowles said that we need to eradicate transgender people from society, which is not what he said at all, which is not what he meant. But, so they took that little soundbite, misinterpreted, ran with it. Or it's like when Trump was at that rally in, I think it was Charlottesville. There was this rally, this event where there were white supremacists in attendance, and he was talking about how there were fine people on both sides of the conversation or both sides of the debate. And of course, the dishonest media ran with that and said that he was referring to white supremacists and he was, condoning their behavior and supportive of their behavior, when really, they conveniently and intentionally, so that they could mislead the public about what he said, they left out the part where he said, except the white supremacists. So we know what can happen when people run with a soundbite and they misinterpret it and go off the deep end with it. And So these hags are essentially looking at what their side of the aisle has done with sound bites and how they've, misled people intentionally with just little clips that are totally taken out of context, and they don't want to be subject to the things that they do themselves on a daily basis. But the difference here is Jane Fonda was not kidding, and this was not a joke, and she was actually referring to human beings, the murder of human beings. And this is the kind of thing that they are normalizing. This is the kind of response that they're normalizing, and in my opinion, normalizing until the behavior and the action becomes a reality. And while this would sound extreme, if we hadn't seen patterns of this belief beforehand, and this belief that they actually think this is what we deserve beforehand, then perhaps it would seem a little bit far-fetched. But these are also the people that spent 3 years telling those of us who did not get the COVID jab or the boosters that we deserved to be denied healthcare, to be denied medical attention, and a lot of people going so far as to say that we do deserve to die. So it's not when people show you who they are, believe them. There was another incident recently that I saw on my Twitter feed. You guys have heard me talk about Billboard Chris before. He's the dad that goes around with the billboards, and he stands in front of, whether it be an event or a rally or a college campus, somewhere where he can spark a conversation, and the billboard says children cannot consent to puberty blockers. And he was at this particular rally, I believe it was in Vancouver, and he was trying to answer some questions from somebody that was reporting there, just trying to have a conversation. And this grown man with long hair wearing makeup about the same height as Chris got in his face and started to scream in his face and rile up the crowd and the mob around him. And this happened.
You suck. You. You're not wanted. You're an idiot.
Now, I didn't catch this the first time that I saw this clip, but it was pointed out on on somebody else's channel that was reviewing this incident. And if you listen to the very end of it, you can hear somebody scream, "Get him, kill him." This is what this far left base is starting to do and starting to feel they are justified in. And we're not talking just about transgender people who are violently attacking anybody that comes within 20 feet of them who doesn't affirm their delusion or their fetish, but anybody on the far left base who has given into these talking points and given into this absolute hysteria. This next thing that happened popped up in my Twitter feed probably within the last couple of days, but this happened at one of these gatherings in New York City where you have these large groups of people together, and one side is supporting Trump and the other side is shouting the media talking point that nobody is above the law, which more accurately would be conservatives are not above the law, so much so that we'll even make up laws in order to imprison them, whereas Democrats can break all the laws and get away with them and likely be bailed out by Kamala Harris and whatever criminal bail fund that she's supporting at the time. But these two guys got into it. One of them was a reporter named Oren Levy, and the other one was allegedly a sound guy for CBS. And this happened.
What's wrong with you, bro? You picture me like an idiot. I will kill you.
When did it ever become acceptable to spit out threats like this, that you're just going to kill someone? Especially from the people who every day tell us how much they want to do to save lives, whether it be you have to get 6 boosters to save lives, or you have to ban all guns to save lives, or you have to do X, Y, and Z to save lives. Yet they're the first ones that have absolutely no problem threatening to take your life. This next one this came just after the tragedy at Covenant School in Nashville, where a woman who called herself transgender killed 3 children and 3 adults because she was extremely mentally unwell. A Wyoming politician named Carly Provenza posted a meme of a granny holding this large gun. I believe it's an AR-15, but honestly, I haven't looked that closely at the meme, with a caption that read, "Protect trans folks against fascists and bigots." So the press secretary for Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs posted a similar meme. So a couple of points with this. First, so what you're saying is that everyday people should be allowed to carry guns to protect themselves from someone who might cause them harm. Secondly, as an elected representative, it is extremely concerning that the current state of society would make these people feel so comfortable to post a meme that blatantly shows that they approve of targeting people that they disagree with. And these are not just random Twitter profiles of people that have no influence and no platform. Like, it really doesn't matter, even though I don't think anybody should be doing things like this. These are significant political figures who have constituents that are counting on them to protect the rights of law-abiding citizens, to protect them essentially from people who would do things like this, people who think that it's their right to bully, threaten, and intimidate anyone who has a different perspective, and respect diversity of opinions and beliefs in this country. People who are clearly unapologetically biased to one side of the political aisle. So like I said, I wasn't even sure I wanted to talk about this today because it is so dark and it's depressing and it's startling that these people have become so comfortable that this is where they're at. Because the thing is, they have been so worked up to believe this hysterical lie that conservatives want to take their rights away or we want to eradicate certain groups from society. And none of it is true, but the narrative has slowly escalated so that their hate for people that do not want to be controlled by the left and do not want the US to be controlled by the left is beyond reason. It is beyond rational thinking. Their base is almost to the point, near the point that certain groups of, in Germany in the 1930s and 40s were brainwashed into, which was to have so much irrational hate and fear for certain groups of people to not even know why or need a reason why, but to still feel justified in targeting and threatening them. And I think one of the most frustrating things about it is the fact that, if you're a sane and rational person, you can see how baseless this hate is, that the things these people have been fed to act out, to fuel them to behave so irrationally and with so much hostility are all lie. And they're solely being used as tools to destroy the country, and that none of this is real. And that people who probably would have otherwise been good, hardworking, neighborly people are now filled with so much venom and animosity that they're behaving in ways that they probably never even imagined themselves that they would behave. So if you guys saw my video from maybe a week and a half ago where I talked about an incident or a situation that happened with Kelly J. Keane Minshall, who is a women's rights, sex-based rights activist, and she goes all over the world organizing Let Women Speak events. And she had one in Auckland, New Zealand, and while they were trying to have this event, this mob of 2,000 people descended on her and the other speakers, and she had to be led away by several police officers and guards, and she was in fear for her life at the time. So I was watching a follow-up interview with her, with Kelly J. Keane Minshall, where she was talking to the interviewer about what happened there, where she had to be escorted away by police. And the person that was interviewing her asked her, "How are your kids doing? How's your family doing? How's your husband doing?" And she said her husband was pretty shaken up by the whole thing, and that, the fact that she had to leave the country early because she really did fear for her life. But overall, she said she was fine. And I find that really interesting because as conservatives, especially if you go to these activist rallies where people are shouting about abortion rights or trans rights or whatever it is, you're met with very severe hostility, threats, and even being assaulted. If you follow Alex Stein on Blaze TV, he constantly shows up at these events and he's been spit on, he had hot coffee thrown at him, he's been attacked and mobbed. I mean, it is just not a safe place. But afterwards, if you ask any of these people who go through these experiences, they always say, "Meh, I'm fine." And I think it's because, in fact, I know it's because there's a certain strength and reassurance and calmness that comes when you know that you're standing up for what's right and you're standing up for facts and truth, and you don't need to be hostile or aggressive to share what's real. Whereas when you've fallen into an ideology that is centered on deception and lies, it takes every ounce of energy you have to uphold it because it has no foundation. It has no base. And you know that all it takes is being confronted with truth and facts to have your entire belief system fall apart. You don't need to use animosity or hostility or threats or violence to crumble lies. You don't have to invent things or exert endless amounts of energy to keep track of what you claimed you believed last year or last week and make it make sense with what you've been brainwashed to believe this week. You just have the truth, and it's unwavering. And that kind of stability is seen as a threat to these people whose entire existence and belief system has no foundation at all. I admire a lot of these people who go out to these rallies and go out to these events and stand up for what's right. And they come home and they're like, yeah, I'm fine, and they're going to keep doing what they're doing. And I love that we don't need violence, and we don't need to act aggressively, and we don't need to threaten people to make our point, because the truth is strong enough in and of itself. Facts hold themselves up. We don't need to exert endless amounts of energy to push what we have to say, to put forth what we have to say. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to come up with new things every week to support what we believe, because the truth is the truth is the truth. It's always been there, and it's always going to be there. All we have to do is speak it. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this video in the comments below. I would love it if you would share it with others. Invite your friends to like my channel. I got a really great compliment from someone the other day saying that, they hope that my channel grows, and they love what I'm doing, and I'm really trying to grow this channel, and hopefully add things that are of value to the conversation. I know that what I talk about is similar to what a lot of other channels talk about, but I also think that I bring things up that I don't hear other people say. So I'm trying to add points, or at least give people things to think about, whether you agree with me or disagree with me. At least we're jogging the critical thinking, and then you can form your own opinion and your own thoughts. So thank you so much for watching my video. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.